So I'm serious, I am deadly serious. What the flub is that? You kidding? You call that a wrestling ring? I mean, what world are you living in? This is a wrestling ring.
No, I'm a puppet.
Why are you even here? Doesn't make sense. How can we talk about wrestling rings and then a puppet turns up?
Well, I tell you why, because you getting so mad about a wrestling ring makes you a muppet.
Well, that is a horrible thing to say, and I'm gonna... Well, I didn't go so well. In fact, it was a pretty bad time. Hello, my friend. If you understood that joke, good. If you didn't, don't worry about it. But I'm Simon Miller. We did just have an episode of AEW Dynamite. Let's up those downs. Here is the deal though, when this AEW did kick off, we realised Dynamite gone and got a good few. Because MJF sauntered into the ring and said, haha, look at my suit, it costs more than your house. It's a bit like Maxwell, kind of think, if that is true, you spent a little bit too much money on your clothes, and also out came Hangman Adam Page, because they were going to have a face-to-face. Now, even though we had the useless wrestling security, both guys had promised there wouldn't be any physicality, which is like me telling you I choose to be bald, and it's not Mother Nature whipping my ass, and shout out to Excalibur. He had a great line about the cowboy. He was like, there he is. Hangman Adam Page, a man who thinks he walks the righteous path. MJF didn't care about any of that though, and he went straight into his story. Let's go all the way back to Double or Nothing 2019. The first proper official match, the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royale. Definitely wasn't the Gauntlet, it was the Battle Royale. And he was about to win and become the #1 contender for the world title. And who screwed him over by taking a cheap shot? Serpentico. Not Hangman Adam Page. He also compared Hangman to a gutless worm. It's like, is that what worms are doing nowadays? They're like screwing each other over in the worm community. I wonder if they talk about this like 1997. Friedman then went into the fact that he still managed to win the Dynamite Diamond Ring 5 times. He still became the world champion and held that belt for as long as anybody else has that in the company. And he does this because he's the best and Hangman Adam Page can kiss his ass. He also said during that, you want to know why? I'm going to tell you why. I was like, wait a minute, that's my catchphrase. So now I've got to ring my lawyer. Hello, lawyer. Yet somebody said some words that I say. No, that is not a thing, man. Now Adam was confused because he was speaking to him like he had no idea who MJF was, and he's well aware. Because sure, you have been a success, but deep down in your tootsie toes, you don't seem like a very happy man because the one thing you don't have is the adulation of these fans. Now, of course, MJF went crazy when he said that because he too would admit it. I mean, not publicly, but privately, probably in front of a mirror. It's the one thing he craves. He also went on to say that Adam doesn't get to say anything because he has been the main character since day one. As soon as he walked through the AEW door, he was given everything on a silver platter. This is totally crazy too, because let's go through your moral record, because you drank blood, you tried to kill some veterans, you syringed somebody in the face, and you also burned down another man's house. Can't argue that, all of those are true. Hangman still feels like he's done nothing wrong though, which is the whole point of his character. He does try and walk the righteous path. When Maxwell laughed and said, does that give you the warm and fuzzies? If my lawyer hadn't already yelled at me, I'd ring at him again. Look at the flipping t-shirt. Point is though, no matter what Page says, he cannot love himself either, because let's take your hero and your mentor, Christopher Daniels. It was you who went and killed him. As soon as Freeman even mentioned his name though, Page just went off. He was like, man, don't you even put his name into his mouth. He is twice the man you'll ever be, and we wouldn't even have the professional wrestling landscape in 2025 if it weren't for people like Christopher Daniels. Tell you, he's not wrong. I think he also said if he could, he would rip his own spine off and give it to Chris. Bro, definitely don't do that. I don't want to see it. This surely has to be the cowboy babyface turn though, because he was so good. As he went on to say, listen dude, you want to talk about the legends of this sport. If you had to retire tomorrow, do you know what everybody would think about you? You were nothing but a spineless coward. Because he's always taking shortcuts when once again, Adam is always trying to do what's right. And even though he may screw up here and there, do you know who understands this? The fans. Page has also worked for every single thing that he has got, whereas Maxwell just spends all his time scheming. That's why when you break it right down, he absolutely sucks. Freeman laughed that off because of course the history books don't remember how you got there. They only remember that you did get there. When once again he went back to this idea, Mr. Hangman Adam Page, you didn't do nothing either. Once again, as soon as you did arrive, everybody was giving you exactly what you wanted. So actually when you compare the two, while he was given all of this, all MJF had was a scarf and a microphone, and he still made it. When he was all like, what do you have that I don't have? Hangman took the mic, he just said, I tell you what, I'm real And he dropped the thing, and I was like, my gosh, this is good back and forth stuff. Maxwell Jacob Freeman had a great line too, because he said, well, if you're going to be the good guy, I have no problem being a bad guy. When they did look into each other's eyes, because that's what wrestlers do when things get super serious. And even though it kind of looked like they were going to fight, instead, MJF went, I will basically prove I am this person, and he spat into Page's face. I mean, that's pretty disgusting. Now, Page didn't like that, and he was about to fight, but of course, MJF ran off, which is when Hangman took out all the security guards, when Christopher Daniels teleported in for the Starship Enterprise, and that's when those two looked at each other. But this was a different feeling in your tum-tum, because of course, Chris was like, yes, this is what I wanted. So it was essentially Star Wars. They nodded in agreement, which was nice, and absolutely this match has to go down at Revolution, and whoever wins, and there does have to be a definitive winner, they should go on to become the world champion, and then we should get to round 2, and MJF and Hangman Adam Page should be feuding over that belt for a long old time. And yes, sure, this went long, but I was totally captivated from start to finish. This is the secret sauce, this is the stuff that I want from AEW, and it is most definitely getting an up. They are good wrestlers. Renee Paquette was then talking to the Undisputed Kingdom and Roderick Strong, because he's going to be taking on Orange Cassidy later. And he was all like, hey, Orange, we are destined to do this dance forever. I was like, man, that sounds exhausting. Roddy also knows that Kyle O'Reilly is friends with Orange Cassidy, but that's not going to matter. And Kyle O'Reilly even talked about the conglomeration here. He was like, you're right, it doesn't matter. If I was AEW, I'd stop talking about that. That story makes no sense. Adam Cole made sure he joined in too, and what I would do with the Undisputed Kingdom is make sure they go after the trios titles as soon as possible. Those belts need something, and these three would be great at it. When we got the Ops versus the Patriarchy, I love pro wrestling, because these are ridiculous names, but I tell you, Samoa Joe's new group has a phenomenal entrance. I was a bit like, yeah man, I'll do whatever you want. Don't know what that means. I just mean I wanted to support them. Also at this point in the crowd, I did spy what I believe is a Simon Give Me an Up sign. This is what social media told me. And as it does look a bit like it, I don't want to ignore it. And if not, I'm just a maniacal egomaniac and my brain is out of control. But again, if you ask, I'll always give it to you, because you do make me read the t-shirt. You're getting it up. Kim Sabian and Shibata started this match too, which just sums up wrestling in 2025. It's wonderful we can get that combo when Samoa Joe tagged in and him and Shibata just chopped everything. Nick Wayne tried to help, but he got taken out too, as Christian Cage kind of backed off. And that was the whole story here. Even though they are meant to be his fake stuns, well, he's a pretty crappy dad. Eventually, Mother Wayne was able to cast Distraction. That's when they got a few lumps in. But actually, if you do kind of put this match into a nice, neat little package, well, the Ops basically destroyed them. I mean, Hook even got the hot tag here and he was suplexing everything, and he did get his hands on Christian. And just as a small aside, we should probably get to that singles match as soon as we can. I do believe this feud started in 1496. So they made sure to wipe out everybody, and even though Cage tried a sneaky kill switch, he murdered him too before he hit the terrific dive, when essentially the Ops went, we have submission powers, and they put every single member of the Patriarchy in a submission, and given that Hook had the best one, Nick Wayne tapped out, and that was it. And of course, by this point, Christian was trying to skulk away again, because again, he's a terrible dad. So this was just super duper fun, and going back to what we were just talking about, we should put the Ops in the trio scene as well, and probably belt them up. Again, their name is a little bit silly, but we'll forget about that in a few weeks, but as a team, my gosh, they're absolutely incredible. And this Samoa Joe man, he's an all-timer. Renee Paquette was then back on her troll wagon, because she was like, oh, hello, Chris Jericho. Was it your plan to go to Australia and lose to Bandito? It made me laugh. Jericho then went off on one saying, man, I'll get you fired, and maybe everybody should remember I got them jobs in the first place, which I don't believe to be true, when he told Bandito, I shall meet you on Collision on Saturday night, or at least this weekend, and we shall be fighting for the Ring of Honor World title. Now, I haven't seen the spoilers for that show, but I hope Bandito did win. It's just the time. When we did indeed get to my most anticipated match for the evening, it was the big old street fight between Big Bill and Powerhouse Hobbs. Big tick, no notes. I mean, William just stormed to the ring, and for some reason Big Bill had a backpack, because why wouldn't you do that? And the first thing they did is they saw Barry Barricade, and they used him as a weapon, and I was like, damn it, poor Baz. Bill then threw a flipping case at Hobbs' leg, when one of them had a chair, and one of them had a wrench. Now, Bill wasn't able to tag Powerhouse with this, but I'm sorry, I was very close to putting it on the crime counter, and the only reason I'm not is because this flipping thing escalated. So after they had thrown each other into the damn ring apron, the hardest part of the ring, and all manner of things, Big Bill used that backpack, and do you know What was in it? Some bricks. That's right. He had been backstage going, man, what can I put in here in order to injure my opponent? And he had gone with bricks. Put a 1 on the crime counter. I'm sorry, my friends. You can spin that however you want. That is flipping attempted murder. Some of the damn shots they took on Sympathy Still Steps were awful too, to the point Powerhouse Hobbs was bleeding. Given that Brian Keith was running around trying to help, eventually William grabbed him and he threw him through this table. I tell you, man, it looked like Brian Keith was dead. That was horrible. We then got the meat chance because it was big men slapping man meat, which is when Billy took Powerhouse Hobbs' face and he smashed it into the sealed steps. But do you know how this ended? There was a table up by the entranceway that essentially had barbed wire wrapped around it. So Hobbs was like, all right. He threw Bill into this, he took a horrible fall, and because his skin was caught up in the barbed wire, the ref was like, well, I'm gonna have to count to 10, Power Hobbs wins. I thought that was a pretty smart creative finish. It also just means they were kind of protected, and here's the deal with 2025. We have to push both these guys because they've just got the power in their Tootsie Toes. I don't know what that means, but I want to see them do stuff and become bigger stars. This was excellent fun. Murder Machine then called out the Hurt Syndicate for Collision because of course they want those tag team titles, when we also had it confirmed that Double or Nothing will be coming back to Arizona. I think it's a very smart move. There's no need for it to be in Las Vegas this year. You always want to put it places where you're going to get a big crowd. Our brand new AEW Women's Champion, Timeless Toni Storm, was here after this. Let's just face it, she is a brilliant character. She began by saying that she's the whore we all adore, the slut you can't rebut. And while she may be a tramp, she is now the champ. Now, she did admit the woman from hell, Mariah May, gave her the fight of her life, but she did win with a small package. And it has been said that all good things come in small packages. Good grief. Toni wasn't done though, because she followed this up by saying that Mariah probably should have worn protection, because she just got railed by the biggest package ever. Now listen, if you are a kid watching this, don't not worry. Toni Storm said railed, right? You know, like a choo-choo on a train, just flying through a big old hole. Wait a minute, that was even... Let's just move on. Storm then promised she would defend this world championship against the best, be that a Kris Statlander or Willow Nightingale, or of course that damn Wendy Richter. She's not a hard woman for fight though, and she will go tit for tit with anyone when she dropped this microphone and she did head to the back. Now I presume at AEW Revolution we do get the last match between Toni Storm and Mariah May, and we should probably have a stipulation around it, but the whole thing has been so damn good, and as for the Toni Storm gimmick, you just got to give it a round of applause. It's so good. She even dropped the John Cena line, she has been compromised to a permanent end. That made me laugh out loud. That's right, noise came out of my throat and into the world. Totally giving it up. We then found out Gabe Kidd is coming to Collision, which is going to be super interesting, when Willow Nightingale was talking to Renee Paquette and she was like, hey, last week that Marina Shafir took me out, not to dinner, and do you know who she hangs around with? Your husband, Jon Moxley. That's kind of intriguing. Of course, right away, Marina ran in there and took out Willow straight away, so we're going to be doing that match, which I like. And as Jon Moxley was here too, he was like, come with me, cameraman. And he went to the ring when he became Roman Reigns, which was probably intentional. He was like, oh man, it's my camera, it's my ring, and they're my seats and you're sitting them, because I own everything here, because I'm the flipping champ. Jon also took all the pleasure that he had being Adam Copeland in Australia, and when they meet at Revolution, if he turns up, that's going to happen again. And I tell you, just given the lay of the land, it does kind of feel like Adam Copeland has to win. That is going to set people off. This is when Jay White walked out, and it's just so strange, because this was a massive plan. Because the Death Riders were then here, and they were going to kill Jay White, when all of a sudden, on this day started, because Adam Copeland was here, which meant Jon Moxley hadn't done his due diligence, and these two started to whip all of their asses. Now, at first it was like, no, the numbers game, which is when, of course, Cope got Spike, which is a stupid sentence, but it's essentially that massive board with barbed wire in it. Copeland then cut a promo after Jon Moxley had ran away, saying, oh man, of course you're gonna leg it, and by the way, these people aren't yours, they're mine. That's like, I think everybody needs to stop doing this. We the fans, we the crowd, we the audience, are nobody's tool, and we walk alone. Wait a minute, that's Batista's song. The whole point is Adam is now going to take out every single one of the Death Riders so that we get to the pay-per-view, it will be mano a mano. And if what somebody told me earlier, because they text me, damn you so-called friend, apparently that starts on Collision when he does indeed do just this. Now look, this was okay. My only worry is I think MJF versus Hangman has way more meat on the bone, so we should switch these. But again, we'll have to wait and see what goes down. I don't think it's bad, I just think it's lost a little bit of steam, but it's still very watchable. And if something's watchable, it's fine. I am going to give it an up. But even though we shouldn't compare things, because comparison is the thief of joy, I wouldn't have a show if I didn't do that. But I do think this is now headed in a better direction, mostly because we've simplified it. And it's nice when people listen. Mercedes Moné then told Harley Cameron there is a price to pay when you mess with Moné, because of course she had beaten her at AEW Grand Slam. It also turns out it is going to be Mercedes versus Momo Wanatambe come the next pay-per-view. That's totally fine. We teased that during that show, and now we're going to do it. They will have a great match. Now, I do admit I would like a little bit more story here, but my main concern here is that Harley Cameron wasn't on this episode of Dynamite. I totally understand you can't be on every single episode. That wouldn't make any sense, but she just has so momentum right now. I thought her coming out or backstage and doing the big, oh my gosh, I tried so hard promo. But don't worry, because I will climb back up the ladder, would have been perfect. And I know that AEW released something similar on social media, but I just think we could have played it here. So because I am a nerd, I'm just giving it a tiny down. When we went straight into Kris Statlander versus Megan Bayne, this is one of those matches. Absolutely, we could have built it more. But because it was two big women slapping man meat, I had a great time. They should do this fight forever. Bayne just ignored all the rules to smash Kris Statlander in the face too. But every time one of these people slammed the other one down, they just got right back to their feet and punched the other one in the face. Genuinely. It was like Godzilla versus King Kong. I'm happy to see more of it. But at one point, Statlander went for the electric chair, but Megan got out of that and just came back with this rocketing spear. When they just traded big boots and they traded lariats. And look, Kris got the ass kick, but she only got a 1-2-0. She also tried for Wednesday Night Fever, but Megan was like, no, I'm not into that, when she hit this great deadlift German suplex. That's when I was like, fight on, my friends, fight on. Now, Statlander did get instant revenge because she suplexed Bayne onto the ring apron, which is the hardest part of the ring, where once again it was like, I'll grab you and I throw you, and you grab me and I'll throw you. Got that totally wrong. The point is there was a lot of equal throwing. Now, of course, eventually Penelope Ford got involved, and that's an understatement, because Kris Statlander was on the top rope. She just pushed her off. So honestly, somebody needs to keep an eye on these things. Megan Bayne didn't care because they are friends. She hit the F5 onto Kris Statlander, 1, 2, 3. So look, if this is the start of the feud, let's continue it on and maybe do a mega match at Revolution. It's getting it up. We did get some aftermath here as well, though, and I have no idea what's going on. And look, we've talked about it before, we can talk about it again. Thunder Rosa is absolutely somebody I consider a friend. She has been super nice to me, and you've seen her journey over the last few years. She's been pretty damn great. But here she did come out to make the save, because Megan and Penelope were going to beat up Kris Statlander. And I think what was meant to happen is that Bayne and Penelope were meant to run away, but they didn't, and nobody had agreed on the fact that Thunder should use the chair which she had. So we had the most strange standoff when somebody had a weapon and the other two people, for some reason, weren't scared at all. And eventually, I think they just got a bit bored and they left. Oh, it's really, really weird. Thunder then went and checked on Kris, so of course we will do this tag match. But yes, in terms of the execution, it does have to get a mini down. I just think sometimes we have to stick to wrestling history as it has always been presented to us. If somebody does run out with a chair, even if you are a big jack person, you have to go, well, that is metal, let me just skulk away. It kind of comes back to scary characters in wrestling. If you are going to feud with them, you do have to be a little bit terrified of them. Otherwise, what's the point? It is not going to affect anything though, and we cut right to Max Caster after this, who's like, listen, I know I've lost 2 of my open challenges, but I'm going to do a third on Collision, and this one will be way better. Do have to say, I find these very entertaining. We should absolutely keep doing it. Ricochet was then next. I just want to say, this brand new character, well, it's a completely wonderful asshole portrayal. He is, of course, still wearing Prince Nana's and Swerve Strickland's robe when he made a sports reference and said, just like Kevin Durant, I can't wait to get out of Arizona. And I was like, man, what a heel. Because the live fans kept booing him too, he told us that he was going to address the fans at home instead. And it was all like, doesn't matter if you boo me, because I'm a winner, and therefore, when you boo me, you're just booing into the void. And that sounds like some sort of a riddle. He can stand by this though, because look at all the people he has defeated recently, and he dropped some names, the biggest one being Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, and that's why he's super happy to have this robe, but he came to AEW to get gold, so now he's going after some titles. He also then decided that he is too good looking for this not to happen, which is a very interesting way to present wrestling. When finally, who came out to confront him? It was none other than Serpentico. I've done that joke once. It was Prince Nana. He wanted to talk to Ricochet one-on-one, which is why he had asked Swerve to stay at home, because they are buddies. He had done that. And he was like, listen, dude, I have been in this game for a long old time, and that is what that robe represents. It's about integrity, it's about loyalty, it's about being a good guy. Look, I added up the numbers. You don't have any of those qualities, and you're a bit of a dick. It also just means if Ricochet is the man he portrays to be, he will give it back. Ricochet just went, nope, I ain't doing it. And if you want it, why don't you come and take it? When he did that weird laugh. Ha ha! Honestly, he sounds a bit like a bird. No, he did just walk off there, and I will say he did get in Prince Nana's face and made it uncomfortable. But given that Swerve isn't there, well, I did kind of feel like he should have just bludgeoned this guy. I mean, can you imagine our feelings? We would have been super duper sad. That is more than a shame than anything else, though, because otherwise, I thought it was a good segment, because Ricochet, like I say, has just embraced this character, and I think he plays it so well. Look, everybody always wants to talk about Ricochet's promos, but here, he did come across like a massive ass wipe. That's the whole point. He's meant to be a heel. We all know that he's good in the ring. So this may be the most well-rounded version of Ricochet we've seen so far. He's doing a good job. Let's get it up. Do have to say that I'm getting very upset with these ball chants, though, every time he is in the ring. It's not his fault, man. You should judge him on his personality. Also, don't forget, maybe one day Mother Nature will come for you, and then you won't have my shoulder to cry on. Not true. I'd probably still be nice and go, there, don't worry about it. When we did indeed get to our main event, which was the first match in the International Title Series, or whatever the flub we're calling it, it was Roderick Strong taking on Orange Cassidy to see who was going to take on Takeshita next week, and the winner of that match takes on Kenny Omega at the pay-per-view. And some people are like, oh man, that doesn't make any sense. It's 2 + 2 = potato. Actually, I agree with you. It is completely random. However, if it means we are going to treat Kenny Omega like the final boss, you ain't getting any moaning out of me, because Kenny Omega is the best. We haven't seen Cassidy for ages, though, and he did come back in his OG AEW form, which made me very happy. And we all know that Roderick Strong is good. They had a great match. Then he went super fast wrestling to begin with, when we did get some goofy wrestling for life. Because at one point, Orange Cassidy went and hugged Kyle O'Reilly. Roderick Strong was like, nope. And he went and hugged him too, and then he was hugging Adam Cole. Look, we shouldn't get too crazy about this. Who doesn't want a hug? Roddy was so mad he slingshotted Cassidy, who came back with a DDT when he did his whole gonna put my hands in the pocket and do a kip up. And I just sat there and I was like, you know what? I like some good old-fashioned pro wrestling. They then smashed each other in the face when Orange was able to hit the beach break for the 1-2-ooh. But that's when Roderick was like, you're not going to hit the orange punch on me, so he got out of this. Eventually, he hit the end of Heartache, and Orange Cassidy kicked out of that. I was like, damn, I didn't realize it was a WrestleMania main event. Strong must have known this as well, because eventually he went for another one. But much like The Undertaker in 2002, he didn't realize that he had just gone and made a big mistake. Because essentially Cassidy was able to counter that with the Stun Dog Millionaire. He followed up with the Orange Punch. Nobody was going to kick out of that, so it's damn good return for Mr. Cassidy. He got the 1-2-3. Now the Undisputed Kingdom marched to the back because they were so mad when Tony Schiavone was going to interview the piece of fruit, and he was like, oh hi, if you do win next week, you will be a 3-time international champion. That's great. No, he didn't get to say much because the Don Callis family interrupted. And after Don had yelled at him, of course, Takeshita and Mark Davis were like, well, you're now in our business and we don't like you. And they beat the shit out of him. Or I guess the zest out of him. I don't know. This is, of course, when Kenny Omega's music hit, and thank goodness he was on the show and he came out to make the save. But he hadn't done the maths either, because, of course, the Don Callis family went after his tum-tum. That's a weak point after his diverticulitis. Orange Cassidy even tried to help, but by this point his HP was too low. But that actually created space for Kenny. He must have taken some sort of potion. He maxed out his MP, and he came back with a V-trigger, and between him and Orange, they cleared the ring. That was nice, because sometimes AEW does end with the bad guys on top. It was nice seeing the baby faces go, yes. Cassidy even got the orange punch in there as well when Kenny and Orange looked at each other, because now they realize, wait a minute, if Orange Cassidy does beat Takeshita next week, they will fight at the pay-per-view. Well, that's never going to happen in 472 years. I appreciate the fact we made it clear. It just moved all the pieces into place, though, and when you throw the match in too, I am going to give it an up. That was a good end to Dynamite. Now, I do have one final nerd down that you have to forgive me for, because even though the commentators did a decent job in telling us why it was Roderick Strong versus Orange Cassidy, it was a bit weird that we chose these two to fight over the International Championship. And also, man, this story with Mark Davis, I think we need to be a little bit more on the nose with it. Because he was just out here beating people up like he didn't care, and now nobody is talking about it. Don't forget, the only reason he's back in with the Don Callis family is because of a magical contract. Now, I'm sure AEW will get to this at some point, but I feel like you should strike when the iron is hot. So yeah, that was just a couple of feelings I did have. So, much like some episodes of Dynamite, I've ended my show on a down. I'm an idiot, I show myself out. Otherwise though, much like the last few weeks, this was a really good episode of AEW Dynamite. And when you look at Revolution, well, that should be a damn good show. I am giving it enough. Now, of course, please do leave me a comment and let me know what you thought about last night's AEW Dynamite. Click the ups and downs on the screen, which is my thoughts about AEW Collision. To get all of my opinions, like the video, share the video, and subscribe. But otherwise, I shall now go see a doctor about my eye. See you soon.